What does it actually take to close the evidence gap in gaming for good? The next talk explores just that, sharing insights from the UN World Food Program campaign shaping food choices in Cambodian primary schools. Please welcome Darko Petrovic to the stage. Did I say that right?
All right, welcome everybody. It's an honor to have you at this panel, not at the main stage or whatever you could be. Hope you're all comfortable and feeling warm enough in this freezing room here right now. I had to get a hoodie and probably have to get another hoodie later to just defrost. So yes, welcome. Good to have you around. My name is Darko. I'm doing gaming partnerships at the World Food Program, and there in the corner is my wingwoman, Senka, who is also managing gaming partnerships at WFP USA. So if you want to speak up, speak about what we do and how we could partner and collaborate, just approach us after this talk. So our talk today will be about closing the evidence gap. So some recent research that we have done as part of a program that we did in Cambodia, where we leveraged not really games, but a gamified campaign to promote healthy eating habits among school-going children. Before I dive into that, let me just say a few words about WFP, who we are. So in case you didn't know, and I wouldn't be surprised, we don't make a lot of advertising. WFP is part of the United Nations. We are, in fact, the UN's frontline responder to hunger around the world. So we work in about 120 countries, helping 120 million people survive all kinds of shocks and disasters. We are also the UN's logistical spine. We also provide logistical support to all other organizations in the humanitarian space to also reach the people they serve. We have also received the Nobel Peace Prize 6 years ago for the role of food in creating stability around the world and creating conditions for peace as a pathway to peace. So our mission is threefold. First of all, we are saving lives in emergencies. Whenever there is an earthquake, a disaster, natural, man-made, rarely women-made, primarily man-made, we are there to support people to survive, providing relief, humanitarian assistance, etc. This is our bread and butter. What we do next to that is also the Changing Lives agenda. We have some flagship projects where we actually work on the root causes of hunger in communities to actually prevent needs from arising in the first place and to prevent hunger from spreading. Ecosystem restoration is one of that. School meals is another one, and this is where this talk will be all about. And the third one also, we help governments to and other partners to address needs in their countries by providing logistical support, the enabling environment for that. So school meals. It's a beautiful impact story. In case you didn't know, school meals are one of the most effective social protection measures around the world, with a lot of different benefits that I will also talk about. In the world, we have about almost 500 million children who are receiving school meals day in, day out. 100 million plus mainly living in, but 100 million mainly living in lower middle-income countries and low-income countries are not receiving school meals, are actually going, hungry to bed every day, which is, a big problem because it undermines, their own personal development, but also undermines the economic development of nations. And what I also have to say is, in terms of some facts, can you see? Is this okay? Can you read this? Million? Somehow is okay. I don't know what happened there. Well, we have about also 500 million children around the world who are living in countries of conflict, where you have armed conflict, strife, where you have a lot of adversity happening. So this is the context in which we operate in terms of school meals, because we look at school meals not just an intervention to provide healthy food, but also to stabilize communities, to give additional economic inputs, support local food production, etc. And these are some of the benefits of school meals. So on the one hand, when we provide food in schools that is healthy, we enable children to actually attend school in the first place. So many parents send them because there is food. That enables children to learn, to follow classes, to actually focus because they are not attending on a hungry stomach, right? So there are a lot of benefits in terms of providing an educational support, educational outcomes, thanks to the availability of food at school. Goes without saying, same when it comes to health and nutrition outcomes, but also when it comes to emergency response, the school meals can be a platform to actually support families of those children with take-home rations in a situation of a natural disaster, for example. We also seen benefits in terms of gender equality in some settings where girls are disadvantaged, where they are not preferred to go to school. We actually use this as an intervention to give an incentive to parents for girls specifically to attend school, to have some gender parity, and to give them an opportunity to learn. So that also can be a very powerful tool and incentive. And homegrown school meal programs can also support local economies. So when we source food, we don't just source it from anywhere and import into the country. More and more, we actually source food from the source itself. So from the farmers, from those parents of those children around those schools, in those local communities. So we bring value, we bring economic activity into this community to support children. And last but not least, in fragile and conflict settings, school meals can actually be a very powerful tool of social cohesion. So where children are, coming together around a meal, sharing an experience, sharing culture, and forgetting about what's happening outside for a few hours. It's a powerful investment, huge ROI, up to $35 coming out of $1 investment in school meals. So it's a significant intervention. We also are secretariat of the Global School Meals Coalition, which promotes the uptake of school meals around the world. This is where we are providing school meals in about 60 countries, supporting 20 million out of those 450 million children, mainly in Africa, but also in a few countries of South America, of Southeast Asia, etc. Some of the things we know for sure through this work is you actually cannot learn, play, or thrive on an empty stomach. This is a given for us. So school meals for us is a foundational intervention for children to actually learn and to thrive. And the other one, in fragile and conflict-affected settings, it can be really a tool to help foster peace and social cohesion among children. And now that brings us a bit to Cambodia, which this talk will be all about. Cambodia is a country in Southeast Asia with about 17 million people, where about 16% of households cannot afford a nutritious diet. So it's a significant problem, also in terms of the country's own development, not only in terms of the opportunities for those households affected. And we have about 22% of children under 5 who are stunted. That means they have impaired development due to malnutrition, low intake of healthy foods. They're basically smaller than they should be for their age. Yeah? I don't know what happened here with editing. I'm sorry about that, but I'm happy to share also slides if you wish later. We in Cambodia, we support about 200,000 school children in about 700 schools. And what we could see in Cambodia is significant child dietary patterns. So you may say, okay, 50% of kids, they are consuming, orange or fruits or vegetables, green leafy vegetables, an egg during a significant portion of the day. They're consuming healthy foods. Okay, this seems great. But actually, on the flip side, almost 90% of children are consuming at least one unhealthy food or drink during the previous day, right? That can be a sweet drink, that can be some sweet food, some salty fried snacks on the street from street vendors. And most of these children consume actually unhealthy foods in the school environment, right? Not necessarily at home, getting this from parents, but really around the school itself. So the school itself is an important place, an important area where a nutrition intervention can have a big impact, right? Not only in terms of delivering healthy food, but also in terms of promoting healthy eating behaviors through nutrition education. And our approach here has been to leverage games or game-based learning to actually do just that. So we have developed a campaign with the government of Cambodia, with the Ministry of Education, called The Adventure in the Kingdom of Food. This has different elements to it. One of them is the actual gamified campaign called The Battle for Healthy Diets. I will come to that, but why do this in schools, right? Children consume 1/3 or up to half of their meals at school. Having food in the school itself provides nutrition through a critical growth period. Childhood establishes lifelong eating habits, especially when you share this with your peers. And in rural areas, in countries like Cambodia, there are often more schools than actual health centers. So schools are an important platform and an entry point for all kinds of interventions that can actually benefit children. So this campaign, SBC, stands for Social Behavioral Change. This campaign was addressing two audiences. One is the primary school children, aged 6 to 12, and the other one is the actual caregivers, their parents or grandparents, whoever was taking care of them. And the goal was to make sure that at least one fruit is being eaten every day, or 3 vegetables every day, different types, at least 1 egg, and that children avoid unhealthy snacks and drinks. And also among parents and caregivers for them to provide and to prepare meals from those food groups, which are considered available in those markets and healthy for consumption. So the Adventure in the Kingdom of Food was not a classical game itself. It was not a tabletop game. It was definitely not a video game. It was actually a game of collectibles, right? Where children receive, as a reward for a certain behavior, stickers of certain characters that have been designed who represented a certain food group according to a specific color and the nutritional value attached to that. So they explore by collecting, they're incentivized to collect those stickers by collecting actually local produce and learning about healthy dishes and eating also those at school. They're learning about their taste, their properties, their benefits, knowledge that can actually benefit them beyond the actual campaign, but into their school life and beyond that. So they're incentivized to diversify diets and to choose healthy snacks as they aim to collect freshy cuties, as they have been called. So it's basically a 3-month intervention. It's implemented by teachers. They are the key facilitators in this whole experience. There are monthly missions to actually accomplish during the game. There are the incentives to actually, these are the incentives to conduct healthier dietary choices. So we had 2 cohorts. One was in 24 with about 90 schools, and one was end of 25, early 26 with about 10 schools. And at the last cohort with those 10 schools, and then 10 schools who were not participating, we did actually an evaluation to assess what is the actual short-term impact on behavior when implementing this gamified campaign. So how does it work? What happens here? There is a page where students get and to record their consumption in a tracker booklet, so what they have consumed the last day, and what they have been given actually by their parents to bring to school. Then, based on that tracker, students receive stickers as a rewards to have achieved those mission goals, right? There's, of course, the situation that, some children may not be able to get, to tick all the boxes because they may not have the ability to access some of those foods. So there is the invitation for their peers to actually help them achieve that goal by sharing food that they have been able to provide. So those who actually share a snack, a healthy food, help the others achieve that goal, they get a super helper sticker, which was considered very valuable in this context, and gives them the chance to actually advance further in the game. So successful students, then they write their names on the classroom tracker, and if at least 80% of the students in the classroom has accomplished this goal for the last week, then they also have considered the classroom to have succeeded. And then each month, successful classes get added to the school tracker. So there is a cooperative element in this collection game experience. There is a competitive element in that. There's also a national championship in this, or let's say a national is the one that we want to aspire to, but we have a regional one where we have about 14,000 school children participating in, as I mentioned, almost 100 schools. So the best schools will also be awarded who have actually achieved that. So they can get a complete, monthly missions. They receive victory stickers. Classes receive a certificate. Schools also receive other awards. So there's a whole process where you have this collectible as the main mechanic to achieve that goal. So it's designed for impact. It's designed to actually empower children as change agents, for them to actually learn, okay, what are these foods all about? What stickers do I need? To talk about them with their parents, with their caregivers. Is this something that they can, receive the next day in school? It also leans on a collective effort. As a class, we want to achieve this together. And, there's an element of equity, right? As I mentioned, if you cannot achieve it as a student, how can I or how can we, other students, help you to actually consume that food so that you can actually get that stickers? Which then would account for this affordability barrier and increase the desirability of nutritious food. And it's really implemented by communities. So let's come to the results. So the exciting part. We were able to see that over 80% of students completed all the 3 monthly missions. So that's about 14,000 students out of, I think it was 18,000. Reported by the students, by the educators themselves, 85% of schools reported the students ate more healthy food, and almost half of them reported that they ate fewer unhealthy snacks. So these are observational data from teachers themselves at the initial qualitative survey. But then we did actually a quantitative survey, and we were able to find those 2 findings here. So we were able to assess that over 11% in those schools assessed, in those schools where this intervention took place, compared to a control group, the likelihood of increasing vegetable consumption was 11% higher than in those control groups, right? Because of this intervention. And this is actually a statistically significant number. So it accounts for just the whole vegetable group. Unfortunately, it does not account for single groups like eggs or green leafy vegetables or a pineapple or a fruit. But overall, for the vegetable consumption, there's a 11% higher likelihood. The other very encouraging result was there was an almost 11% higher likelihood or decrease in unhealthy snack consumption at the same time observed by the students. So they were eating basically less food from those street vendors which were provided, which were high in sugar, high in fat, fried, and so on. What did school think about this? So most of them find it actually very enjoyable as an experience. It was fun. It was interactive. Kids were having this as a communal activity, playful activity. Most of them found it either easy or very easy, but obviously there is some room for improvement to make it actually more seamless and to make the onboarding more easy for a bigger number of schools. And the vast number of schools wanted to repeat this exercise. So we're now looking into expanding this exercise to repeating this again in the same schools, but also expanding into other parts of the country. And then let's come to, maybe the last slide. What did we learn? So this was an activity which was really co-designed with educators, with people from the ministry, with a private company that was an expert in SBC interventions. How can we design something that really caters to the need of the children, characters which are easily understood, which are embedded in the local context, which are based on food that is locally available. We were reaching out to vendors and caregivers to also help us design that. It was adapted for the youngest kids. And we also noticed it has to be paired with complementary interventions. So you cannot just do this standalone intervention without providing the actual food that is in the school itself. A very positive experience was to partner with the government on this, and also with UNICEF, with whom we were able to scale up the intervention to other schools with which we also want to work more. And yeah, there is clearly a demand. So there's a demand to expand this brand around the country. But the one key condition, obviously, and this is what I mentioned earlier, you cannot really play, learn, or thrive on an empty stomach. This intervention doesn't matter if there's no access to food, right? So the precondition for this learning to happen, for this behavioral change to happen, is people in this community, in the country, they have to have access to a healthy diet, right? So, and I don't only talk about availability, that it's physically available in the market. Access means also economic access. Yeah, I can actually afford this. So how can we design this intervention so that there is a minimum level of food consumption possible that can actually be incentivized through a gamified approach like we have here? Okay, and this is how it looks in practice. A few pictures from kids who have been receiving those folders, teachers intervening, filling up stickers, and yeah, also being part of the final ceremony of awarding successful schools. So this is it. I think I made it on time. Thank you so much for joining. Happy to share the slides if you want. If you want to know more about this specific intervention, my colleague Danielle from Cambodia herself, she's available for questions via email. Email is here, or you can approach me. So we're happy to make this happen. So thank you again so much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.